This is what it's all about with another video. This time we're going to be doing a comparison between two of the most popular affordable diver watches at the moment. On the left we have the Steinhart Ocean One, and then on the right we have the Christopher Ward C60 Trident. Now both of these watches are Swiss made. They're divers, so they have 300 meters water resistance, and they're sort of near the similar price bracket. That's between 300 and 500 pounds. So as you can see, they're both black and quite based on Rolex. The Steinhart more so than the Christopher Ward, but they both have certain things about them which remind people of a Rolex. So the Steinhart is £310, whereas the C60 with the steel bracelet is £510. So it is a couple of £100 more. Other comparisons of the spec is that the Steinhart has a 2-year warranty, whereas the Christopher Ward has a 5-year warranty and exceptional customer service as well. The movements, so every Steinhart comes with an ETA 2824-2 Swiss-made automatic watch, automatic movement. Some of the Christopher Wards do come with that, but when they can't get hold of an ETA, they actually replace it with a Sellita SW200. Now, some people might be turned off by that, but in all honesty, there's hardly any difference because Sellita used to make a lot of watches for ETA, and the SW200 is actually their version of the ETA 2824, so they're very, very similar in design, and chances are, if you've got a watch with a ETA 2824, it could have been made by Sellita anyway. So in that respect, it's not a big difference. They both perform equally well, and they both have the same specs. 28.8 thousand beats an hour, that's 8 ticks a second, so they're very smooth. Around 40 hours power reserve, but the only thing that's different is the Sellita has one extra jewel in it. Don't ask me where it is though. So other comparisons, the Loom on the Steinhart is actually much better than the Christopher Ward. The same sections are loomed, so both hands, the tips of the hands are loomed, and then the hour markers are loomed on both watches. They both use Superluminova, but the difference is that Steinhart use C1, Superluminova C1, whereas the Christopher Ward just use plain Superluminova, and to be honest, it's not that great, whereas the Steinhart, it does actually charge and it does do its job. Size-wise, they're both 42mm wide. If we hold them exactly side by side, it does look like the Christopher Ward looks a little bit larger though. I think it's because the bezel goes right up to the edge, whereas with the Steinhart it has this thick coined edge. So to the eye, the C60 looks a little bit larger. Depth of the case, the Steinhart is 13mm deep, whereas the Christopher Ward is 12.6mm deep. So the Christopher Ward is almost 0.5 millimeter thinner, which, to be honest, isn't that much when you think about it. So yes, the weight-wise, they're both pretty much exactly the same. Steinhart being 190 grams, Christopher Ward C60 being 189 grams. They're both very they're very heavy watches. Obviously, there is a lot of steel involved. They're very well made, thick links on the bracelet as well. Big heavy head as well. They both feel very impressive, so that's good. They both have sapphire crystal. The Ocean One has the addition of a date magnifier there just above the date window. They're both 300 meters water resistance, so 3 ATM, which means they both have screw-in crowns and a screw-in case back as well. And they both have 22mm wide straps, bracelets. The only difference being is on the bracelet end. The They both go a bit thinner, but the Steinhart goes down to 20mm, so it loses 1mm either side, whereas the Chris Ford C60 goes down to 18mm, so it loses 2mm either side, which means a lot thinner clasp. So when you're wearing it, the C60 does feel a little bit more refined, whereas the Steinhart feels a lot more chunkier and heavier and more aggressive on the wrist. So this can determine, you know, which style you prefer to wear. Whilst we're looking at the bracelets, you can see there are two different types. So the Steinhart is just a double lock-in clasp with a straight flip up and flap it open, whereas the Chris Ford has release buttons either side where you press them both. So moving back to the general appearance of the watch, obviously the Steinhart is more or less a direct homage to the Rolex Submariner. You can see that by the hands and the bezel and the hour markers as well, and the date window magnifier. Whereas the Chris Ford is a slightly more unique watch. It has various different bits, such as the wave pattern to the dial, very much like an Omega Seamaster, and also has some nice onion hands and a sword hand, and also this trident as a counterweight to the second hand, which is nice. It also has the unusual date placement of around 4 o'clock, which is another interesting, unique aspect of it. So it's really dependent on what style you prefer. On the one hand, going for the Steinhart is a watch which is heavily based on a Rolex Submariner. If that's your kind of thing, then you really should, go for this one. Whereas you should go for the Christopher Ward if you prefer something a little bit more unique, but also you want the added bonus of the 5-year Christopher Ward warranty, which is very, very good, and their customer service is second to none. It's absolutely fantastic. Price-wise, you are paying an extra £200, unfortunately, for the C60, so that the price does go in favour for the Steinhart. Also going in favour for the Steinhart is the fact that because they sell out so quickly, they don't make enough of these, the second-hand value is very, very good. As in, you can sometimes sell them on eBay. You see second-hand ones go for more or less the price of a brand new one, which is very impressive. They go for around £300. So with the Steinhart, you're not going to lose a lot of money at all if you do decide to change your mind. Whereas with the Christopher Ward, you probably will lose some money on it. But both of them are incredibly well machined. They're beautiful watches, I must say. They're two of my favourite affordable watches available at the moment. They both wear so well on the wrist, and they just look, they look really good. So let me just put them on my wrist, and then be able to see the difference. So I've got a 7.5-inch wrist for reference. You can see that the Christopher Ward, because of the downturned lugs, fits nicer on the wrist and it's slightly more comfortable, whereas the Steinhart has very, very flat lugs. So it does sit quite high on the wrist and it doesn't hug the wrist as much. So look at the links. It's quite awkward getting a decent shot of this. So you'll see the Christopher Ward has polished centre links. And the Steinhart looks like a thicker, meatier bracelet because it doesn't reduce in size as much as the Christopher Ward. That's the focus. That's the bracelets. And then, so that's and that's what the Christopher Ward looks like on that side. So yeah, two very, very impressive high quality watches. To be honest, I wouldn't be able to choose between them. They're both outstanding value for money and very great looking watches. So it really depends on what style you're interested in. If you want a watch dedicated to a Rolex, or if you want one a little bit more unique like the Christopher Ward, then that should be your decision. But either way, whichever one you choose, you're not going to be disappointed. You're going to be very, very happy with the choice of watch, because they both do offer very high quality for the money that they are. Okay, so that's what it's all about, and this was the Steinhart Ocean One and Christopher Ward C60 Trident comparison.